Hello, this is Trace Mayer.
And this is Gary Leland, and you're listening to episode 123 of the Crypto Cousins podcast.
Feed your interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies by joining Hall of Fame podcaster Gary Leland on the Crypto Cousins podcast. And remember, we are all cousins in the world of crypto.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Trace, welcome to the show. You're going to catch up with Jimmy Song pretty soon here, on the amount of times you've been on here.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me. Glad to help out however I can.
So where are you at? In California?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Okay.
Nevada.
I figured you must be in Vegas. Yeah, I don't know why I said call. I knew you were in that time zone because the time you wanted the time difference between this call and stuff. I was wondering because, we have a mutual friend, John Lee Dumas, and you had told him that he needed to move to Puerto Rico. And I was going, I wonder why Trace didn't take that advice.
Oh, I'd just rather pay taxes than be on the island for 6 months out of the year.
That's understandable. That's understandable for sure. So everything going good for you?
Yeah, everything's going great. I stuffed myself with turkey over the Thanksgiving holiday. It's a lot of proof of key stuff to be intermixed with all the other funness of the holidays. So
where'd you get that newspaper?
So here we go.
Where'd you get that newspaper? Is that
that's from Lynx. So they make it's not the newspaper. They make like these aluminum prints. And I have one with the Bitcoin white paper, and I have one with the Lightning Network white paper. And that's the Satoshi. That's a Satoshi paper. The quote from the Genesis block.
That's pretty cool. Hey, can you give us, for anyone in case they're just hadn't heard any of the 4 or 5 times you've been on the show, just a short, quick bio? I'll let you do it, and just whatever you want to say.
Yeah, sure. Early Bitcoiner, first public person to talk about it, about a nickel to a quarter at the time. I host the Bitcoin Knowledge podcast where I interview a lot of the top people in the space. Let's see, investor in Armory and Kraken and several other players in the space. The mighty Kraken. Let's see.
Which they have Pierre Rochard now.
Yeah, he joined the team. So did Dan Held and Clark Moody in the acquisition. We got a great team over there at Kraken. And Jesse's a big fan of proof of keys. So that'll be good to kind of chat about the impact and how it affects exchanges. And just Twitter at Trace Mayer. And that's kind of where we're at.
So how did you originally find out about Bitcoin? Because you found out when it was a nickel. I mean, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to see a lot of people. There was no crypto Twitter. I mean, how did you find out about it that early?
I just, sniffing around, found it on the internet somewhere.
Well, I was on the internet a lot. I guess I was sniffing at the wrong places because I waited till it was almost $4,000.
Yeah, well, that story of a lot of people's lives, But I've always been interested in the sound money and the technology and the e-gold and gold money and the early peer-to-peer file sharing networks and this is kind of the nexus of so much of that stuff. The online games and currencies there. So Bitcoin was just a very natural fit for me.
Since you have been a Bitcoiner since it was a nickel. I mean, you've seen a lot of changes, but I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying how lucky someone was that they got in so early. Not you, but someone else we were talking about. And I had to give them a little rebuttal that it's really more than luck. I mean, when you saw your Bitcoin go up to $1,000 and drop back down, you didn't sell, you hodled. And that's not really luck. That's like, being, I think, knowledgeable enough to know the long-term scale to hodl through those times. Because a lot of people, it's like buying a stock. My dad would always go, I knew that was a good stock. If I'd have bought that, we'd be rich now. And now in retrospect, I think, no, you wouldn't have because you just sold it. When it went from 100 to 50, you would have sold it and then it would have moved up. And that's what most people do. And I give OGs credit because they held on to it.
Yeah, well, some of them did.
Yeah.
I coined the term hodler of last resort. I didn't lose any money in Mt. Gox. I didn't lose any Bitcoins. I agree with you. Luck, no. Like luck is when preparation meets opportunity. and you have the smiles of fortune on you, also, because it's almost like, if you can have prudence and everything, but without luck, you're just not going to be successful. That's why the Greek gods, luck and fortune were so powerful. And I think a lot of people just don't even understand what luck is, either. We throw the term around, but we don't really understand what it is or how it functions. And there are actual laws that govern luck, just like laws govern physics and everything else. But, in that vein, I mean, I just done so much study and preparation, reading a lot of Austrian economics, human action, Mises, Rothbard, Dr. Vieira's Pieces of Eight, the work that Gada had done. I'd spent thousands and thousands of hours and was in a position where my mind was already ripe to receive something like the Bitcoin seed and have conviction in it. And, just by nature, I'm very conservative in how I allocate my capital, kind of like Warren Buffett. I want to hold stuff forever. Like I just buy it and I never want to sell it. Right. And I've been very similar in that way with my Bitcoin adventures. And so, I don't think luck, to have the conviction to go through 3 of these brutal bear markets, where Bitcoin's gone down over 80%.
Right.
A lot of people think that they can trade Bitcoin, and they end up having less Satoshis as a result, because it's so difficult to time it. It's really wild how this thing moves. During before the last bull market, Bitcoin was about $600, and I was doing the interview circuit saying, we're in the next bull market, it'll go to $3,000. And then I decided to stick my neck out a little bit more and say it was going to 3,500. If I had sold at 3,000 or 3,500 before that run up to 20,000, I missed it a little bit, right? And
now it's at 7,000.
To the downside.
So you're still way up.
Yeah, but when I'm looking at the potential bull and thinking like, we got $3,000, $3,500, what am I going to sell at? 2,700, right? And then you miss all that upside to 20K. How do you know whether to sell at 15K or 25K? But it never makes it to 25K, and yet 3,000, 3,500, and guess what the bottom of that bull market was? Probably 3,200, like earlier this year, and now we're getting ready for the next halvening. You're looking at Plan B stock to flow, pricing,
which is really
model.
Interesting information.
Yeah, not that previous price data tells you what something's going to be worth in the future, but Bitcoin doesn't really change, and it's so global, and you don't really, you could look at the price of water bottles. But then you have a hurricane and you have this spike in the price of water bottles. But Bitcoin is such a global market, and there's no reason ever for any shortages, like you would get a dislocation in the water market or something. And that stock to flow pricing model takes into account billions and billions of transactions by tens of millions of unique people. That's pulling all that knowledge out, right? And expressing it into a price. And you don't get these short-term dislocations like you would with water or a shortage or a natural disaster or something like that, because Bitcoin is so global. And so we're in for a wild ride this next 10 years. If you thought the previous 10 years were fun, like this next 10 years is going to be even better, because like the first.
Well, I'm hardened now. I'm hardened. Nothing bothers me now. I've seen it go when you see it go from 20 to 32, that'll harden you.
It went from 32 to $2. It went to 266 down to 60 to 1,300, all in the same year.
Yeah, you're super hardened.
Then down to $200, and then up to 20,000, and down to 3,200. Now it's who even knows where it's at. And that's just Bitcoin. You look at all these. We got 8,000 different coins in this industry now, and this first 10 years was a proof of concept in just getting the technology out there. But we've learned a lot of stuff. since Bitcoin got out. Like Schnorr signatures aren't going to be patented anymore. Mimblewimble paper came out in 2016. CoinJoin, confidential transactions, the fundamental tension between the soundness or the hardness of the money and the being able to prove the supply versus like complete fungibility and anonymity and the legal implications with all of that. I mean, this next 10 years is going to be it is going to be chock full of financial innovation, and there's going to be just so many opportunities. And, you know, we do hear a lot, you know, this Bitcoin maximalist. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think anything's going to challenge Bitcoin on its way to this world reserve settlement currency. No other digital asset. But that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be opportunities for other coins to have financial innovation happen in them. And then if it's successful, it gets rolled into Bitcoin. If it can, like Litecoin, and if the innovation can't be rolled into Bitcoin for whatever reason, well, now that altcoin has a reason to exist because it might be able to perform a particular function better than Bitcoin can perform that function. And we should be hiring the milkshake. You know, Clay Christensen at Harvard Business School talks about, why do you hire a milkshake? Like, you know, why are you hiring products to satisfy different needs? Bitcoin doesn't need to satisfy all the needs for all the people. You know, and there can sometimes you want a knife, sometimes you want a fork, sometimes you want both of them together. So, you know, we have to keep an open mind, and just like we were curious and we're willing to learn and develop human capital, and that's what brought us into Bitcoin. We're going to have to keep that type of open-mindedness and willingness to learn in order to take advantage of the opportunities that come to us in the future.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you know, for instance, Litecoin, I guess, since it's a fork of Bitcoin, a lot of stuff that will go on there can be taken right over to Bitcoin, is what you're saying, and used on Bitcoin.
Like segregated witness.
Right.
Segregated witness was activated first in Litecoin. And you know, one of the concerns was like, oh, segregated witness could pose a security vulnerability with anyone can spend or things like this. Well, somebody put $1 million worth of Litecoin in a SegWit address, and it sat there for a few months, and nobody was able to like compromise it. So
I'm sure a lot of people were checking that out for sure.
Well, I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure before anything comes into Bitcoin, we want to make sure that it's been battle tested. You know, like we cannot, like the base layer of the new financial system, it needs to be just completely computationally solid and sound.
Hey, you know, on one of our interviews, I can't remember which one it was, you told me that we were talking about Bitcoin Cash. And you told me how you were, I'm not sure you said it this way, but the basic statement was you were happy with Bitcoin Cash because you got all this free money that you turned into Bitcoin. And it was like a great deal. You got free Bitcoin because of it. Now, do you?
And I still haven't sold all of them.
But I see people that a lot of times bitch about forks that they're going to get free coins for. So are you saying, I'm just curious to get your opinion on that. Are you saying that you shouldn't really be that upset with forks, or forks aren't necessarily a bad thing because you can get free Bitcoin out of it? And if you can get Bitcoin, go ahead and get your Bitcoin, or go ahead and get your forked coins and trade it for Bitcoin?
I was
curious of your opinion on this. I really was.
So a good general, I think that a good general philosophy for approaching life is to take care of yourself. You know, like take care of your own health, take care of your own wealth, make your own decisions, have your own personal responsibility. And everybody seems to want to like take care of everybody else. They want to babysit everybody else. And look, like if somebody makes a fork or an airdrop, and even if it's a complete scam, like Hex probably is, why even devote any time or attention to it? Take care of yourself.
Right.
You know, and if other people want to go buy that thing and send like 11,000 Ether there or whatever, like, why is that your concern? Like, why why do you feel that you need to play Superman or Batman and go protect people from stuff like that?
So are you saying Hex compared to Bitcoin Cash might be a scam because you have to actually send them Ether, where on the Bitcoin Cash you just received it?
Well, yeah. I mean, if people are going to have monetary sovereignty, then they can do whatever they want with their money. Right. And if that means that they're going to send it to the money hole and light it on fire, like why do you feel that you need to try and save them?
Right.
Know what I'm saying? Like, no, an act of charity to save somebody. And now Bitcoin Cash, at least you're not sending people money like with Hex. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, why would you send anybody money? Like, you gotta really persuade me before I'm gonna send you money. I want whatever I'm getting on the barrelhead, like my gold cup, but like Bitcoin Cash, the problem I see with Bitcoin Cash is the dishonesty.
Right. I think that's his biggest problem. I think if he go ahead.
Well, trying to say that Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin.
I agree.
In order, I want people to be able to have their monetary sovereignty. Now, what that means is that people need to be able to make their own decisions, right? Now, I might not agree with how they exercise their monetary sovereignty, but I want them to at least have it. And that means that they need to make their own decisions. Well, the reason, thou shalt not lie. Like, why is that wrong? Right? It's wrong because you're interfering with somebody's ability to choose by changing their perception of what the facts are. So when you say that Bitcoin Cash is a real Bitcoin, like, you're interfering with somebody's agency, right? You're interfering with their ability to choose. And in order to really be a hodler of last resort, and that's what I want. Like, what's Bitcoin need? It needs more hodlers of last resort, people who will hold this no matter what. Like, in order to have that type of conviction, somebody needs to know exactly what they're buying and exactly why they're buying it. Like, no obfuscation, no fraud, like calling one thing another thing. Like, if Bitcoin Cash is so superior, like, why would you want someone to potentially confuse it with something else? Why would you want to have a confusingly similar name?
Great point.
I mean, like, if you're so strong, like, you don't want there to be doubt or confusion of what the thing is in somebody's mind, because that interferes with their ability to freely choose it. If somebody chooses it because they thought it was Bitcoin, because they're new in the space, and they haven't done enough of their due diligence, I think you're preying on people who are not sophisticated enough.
So if someone goes to bitcoin.com thinking they're buying Bitcoin because you got it labeled as Bitcoin, and then they find out from their friend, no, you bought. They go, I got a great deal on Bitcoin. I didn't have to pay $7,000. I got it for $150. And the friend goes, oh man, you got ripped off. That's Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, they got a good lesson. Do your own due diligence, right? But it was expensive, and I just don't really like that. Now if people make different decisions with how to exercise their monetary sovereignty than what I would do, like, all for you. But like, I don't want to interfere in their agency and choosing what to do. Like, I'll try to persuade, but I don't want to, like, obfuscate or, I want to give it a good shot. I mean, none of us are perfect, right? But I think, Bitcoin Cash is a real Bitcoin. Like, now you're attacking the brand, and you're attacking perception that people have with trying to make something confusingly similar in a way to get them to buy, but not really having fully persuaded them, so they're not going to have that conviction to hold it.
I agree.
And so that's kind of the beef I've got with, like, Bitcoin Cash is a real Bitcoin, or no.
I think a lot of people have that same beef. I think that if Roger had come out with it and said, hey, it's Bitcoin Cash and I'm proud of it and here's what I got, instead of trying to say it's Bitcoin, I think people would look at it at a different, they may not still like it, but they'd look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it's when whenever you attack somebody's agency, like that's where the contention really begins to flare up in your personal relationships, so and relationships with other people. So if you don't attack their agency, now, that's not to say that you're not going to have disagreements, but you're at least going to, if there is a disagreement, you're going to be like, well, you're the one attacking the agency. We're just being defensive.
Right. Hey,
you're the one trying to confuse somebody.
Changing subjects
to sucker money out of them.
Will you be at, since you're in Vegas, you said, will you be at Confiscatable, the dinner and stuff Tone's having out there?
Probably. I think it's in February.
Yeah, I just bought my ticket. I just bought my tickets. I didn't know if that'd be my first chance to meet you in person. I feel like I know you, but we've never met in person.
Well, I do have time preference for the future, but I rarely plan it very well.
Understandable. Well, hopefully I'll see you there. But while we're talking about that, I do want to make sure everybody knows about BITBLOCKBOOM, the Bitcoin conference I put on in Dallas. And I call it a real Bitcoin conference because all we talk about is Bitcoin. We don't talk about, altcoins. We're not really in the blockchain. We just talk about Bitcoin. That's it. If you talk about anything else, you may be asked to leave. But if you haven't checked it out yet, the third BitBlockBoom is coming up August 2020. Go to bitblockboom.com. We have a dinner. We have a brunch. We have a lot of stuff going on. It's a great, it's turning into a week event, but check it out at bitblockboom.com. And if you use the word cousins, the code word cousins at checkout, you'll get 30% off your ticket price. And we just signed up Stefan Livera as our speaker. So he'll be coming from Australia. He'll be our furthest speaker. So check it out today. I hope I get to see all y'all in Dallas. Were you familiar with BitBlockBoom?
Yeah, I'd heard of it. I haven't attended it yet.
No, I know you haven't attended, but
our schedules.
I ask everybody that just to see how well the word's getting out. And I kind of like it because I run into many people who don't know what it is. So I feel like I'm making some head. I go to so many Bitcoin conferences now, Trace, that don't have anything to do with Bitcoin. I went to one that was a state Bitcoin conference, and I don't know if there was one speaker there that spoke about Bitcoin for the 2 days, unless he said his wallet that he was pitching had held Bitcoin. And it was like a state Bitcoin conference in a state, and I was going, wow, this is a state crypto conference. So it seems to me so many people maybe got those terms early, and now they just use that because they have that domain and they don't care what they're pitching. They're just going to be the Bitcoin conference because it comes up high in search stuff.
Well, blockchain, not Bitcoin. That's kind of what you'd expect out of Chinese behavior when certain terms are banned, right? Or censored.
Right. Hey, let's get into proof of keys because that's what we're really discussing. I just had a few questions I wanted to get out of the way. Let's get into proof of keys, talk about how that's going, how that went, when it's coming up. But let's go ahead and give us a quick rundown on what is proof of keys.
Yeah, so proof of keys is a celebration I started for the entire industry. It's very simple. On January 3rd, which is the anniversary for the Bitcoin network being released by Satoshi to the public, we withdraw all of our Bitcoin and other crypto from any third party to a wallet where we're running the full node and holding our own private keys. Those two
simple
prongs.
And sweet. Simple. It's a simple task. You're just taking all the Bitcoin offline.
Yeah, so it's a global coordinated run on the collateral that's strictly limited in amount.
It's
right?
like running on the banks.
It can be instantly transferred.
In the old days, you see the movies that they're running on the bank and they shut the bank down in the western town and go, wait a second, everybody. We don't have enough gold in there for everybody. Well, you got our gold. Where'd you put it? So that's what we're talking about here. It's a run on the banks.
Yeah. Oh, your Bitcoin's in Jimmy's house or whatever. Yeah. Like none of that. Send the Bitcoin
you saw that
address. Movie. Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. It's a classic, right? No, it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin can be instantly sent. So, it's very simple. Just send all of my crypto to this address right now. And you're going to learn a lot from this exercise. One, you get to develop human capital on how to secure your own Bitcoin and crypto. You get to do transactions, all that type of stuff. Two, you get to kind of do a financial inventory every year. You might find Bitcoin that or crypto on accounts that you'd forgotten about. Like Peter McCormick over at What Bitcoin Did podcast, he had inadvertently forgotten about half a Bitcoin on Cryptopia.
Well, that's nice. Picked up $3,000.
Yeah. Well, and then guess what happened? Like shortly after Proof of Keys,
What?
Quadriga CX failed and Cryptopia failed. So he did Proof of Keys. He's like, oh, I forgot that half a Bitcoin at Cryptopia. So he gets it, and then a couple of weeks later, Cryptopia fails.
So he saved himself from losing $3,000 just by participating in Proof of Keys.
Yeah. So he found the $3,000 that he had forgotten about. But then, like, say he had remembered that 6 months later, it would have been gone because of the Cryptopia failure. So, like, do you really want to be cleaning out your fridge every 5 years? Right? I mean, who knows what's like down there? You might.
Yeah.
But if on an annual basis,
I'm imagining that
all
now.
of our accounts, yeah, it's like that's the Bitcoin eater down there, right? But yeah, so if every year we're doing this financial accounting where we just go out and scoop up all of our coins on any third parties and bring them back to the mothership, it's a good spring cleaning. And then of course, like, it helps instill the ethos into the community. It helps us train new people to claim and flex their monetary sovereignty muscles. It helps us appreciate our monetary sovereignty. There's just so many benefits to it. It helps us stress test the different services, because they get to process more withdrawals than usual. So it's a good stress test opportunity for them. And what's the cost? Like 30 cents per transaction, in a little bit of time. But what's the benefit? Like, you're getting a battle readiness drill. You're training, right? And instead of like you don't want it to be an emergency situation when you try the procedure for the first time. You want to do some practice, right? And so this is a way that you can practice on a regular basis, like once a year, and you can make sure that you're still using your good cold storage devices, that they still work and are operational.
And maybe update them if they need to be updated because you've plugged them in maybe for the first time in a year.
Yeah, update them with new software. Like Bitcoin Core might have came out with a new version, or Armory, or like whatever you're using. Like it's just a good practice and habit to be into. And if we're all doing it at the same time, over this January 3rd date, then it stimulates a lot of discussion in the community. So we get to talk about like different policies and procedures and ways that we go about doing it. And that stimulates good discussion and helps new people also.
So you're saying that last year was the first year for Proof of Keys. And you're saying, as to whether they were strictly went out of business because of Proof of Keys, we don't know. But 2 people did go out of basically business after Proof of Keys.
Yeah, well, you had Quadriga CX, and that's the most fishy one.
Is that the one where the guy died, or supposedly died in Africa?
Yeah. So the timeline, like, let's just look at this fishy timeline. I put out the tweet on December 9th. A couple days later, Coinbase says that they're testing their cold storage procedures. And then the next week, they move like 800,000 Bitcoin on blockchain. So because my tweet got 100,000 video views in like 24 hours. So maybe they're like, whoa, like, we do have the Bitcoin. Like, don't be scared, Because, this was the first time we're trying to coordinate this industry-wide, right? And so Coinbase did that. And at the same time, Gerald Cotton, who is the founder and CEO of Quadriga CX, he met with his attorney to do his estate plan. And then a week later, he's in India and he dies. And his wife takes his body from the hospital back to the hotel. Like, that's so weird.
That's weird. I didn't know about that part. The body going to the hotel. Yeah. I usually don't want to bring dead people home with me.
It's just very odd. And yeah, Jesse Powell, over CEO and founder of Kraken, he did a very extensive podcast all about this Quadriga CX. It's very, very, very interesting story. anyway, so he does the estate plan. The guy dies. Like the next week is proof of keys. And then Quadriga CX like has trouble processing withdrawals. And then finally is like, we don't have the $200+ million of customer assets. And now it's in bankruptcy, kind of like Mt. Gox, right?
And he's not dead, right? Or is he dead? I mean, whatever happened to him? Does anyone know?
Like, yeah, where's proof of body, right?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe some ashes or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for real.
So we had some good
really,
results that could have been from that.
Well, I mean, if
they
were
good.
A bad actor.
Yeah, they weren't good, but we got bad actors out.
I mean, if they were a bad actor and they had been stealing a bunch of people's Bitcoins and running a scam, and proof of keys helped reveal the scam because they couldn't deliver Bitcoin to people who made withdrawals, I think that's good.
It kept more people from getting in.
Yeah, it kept more people from getting scammed. Then we had Cryptopia, Bitfinex. They had like 8 to 10 hour delay on processing withdrawals. BTC actually froze withdrawals before January 3rd. On like January 2nd, they froze withdrawals. So that you learn a lot, I think. Like when you try to just withdraw all of your assets out of these third parties, you learn whether they'll do it or not.
Right,
and if they don't do it, if they don't do it, because supposedly you own those assets, right? If they don't do it, why? Why didn't they send you the money?
Right.
And then, because he died in India. Oh, no, because he's running a scam for a couple of years. That's why. So, I think it's a good immune system for the Bitcoin community and for the crypto industry in general. That's kind of what happened last year. And we had a lot of new people that got trained. All these people that came into Bitcoin got to learn about cold storage and nodes and private keys, and they develop all of these tools and skills and abilities to really flex their monetary sovereignty muscles. Because there are a lot of people, they want you to remain in the slave relationship. Gold is the ancient metal of kings. Like, are you the king or are you the slave? Well, if you're running an SPV wallet and connecting to someone else's full node, that's a master-slave relationship in terms of the computer architecture. If someone else is holding the private keys to the Bitcoin, they make the decision on when those Bitcoins get sent or whether they get sent at all. If you hold the private keys, you get to make the decision. So, this is like who's the one who's making the decision? You or someone else? And there are a lot of people out there that they want to be the decision maker, even if they don't necessarily own the Bitcoin, right? Because they want to be able to lend it out surreptitiously and make a little bit extra money doing that or whatever.
I was talking to someone the other day about Bitcoin, and his theory or whatever is that if Bitcoin becomes the world currency someday, that the governments will confiscate all the Bitcoin from exchanges. First thing they'll do because they don't have enough. What do you put any heed to that?
I think it's going to be more of a gradual transition, and the governments are confiscating plenty with taxes. So why not just keep confiscating it that way?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why they even confiscate it since they can print as much as they want. Why don't they just leave us alone and print some more?
Well, and that's what they do. They print as much as they want. Some of that finds its way into Bitcoin that causes the price to go up. And then if you sell the Bitcoin because you want to buy a car or a house or whatever, you have to pay capital gains tax.
Right.
Because the price went up because all that money they printed flowed into the Bitcoin. So, that's a much more efficient way for them to confiscate, the funds.
Is through taxation.
And it's through taxation. And, and I know I try to pay my taxes. It's very painful. It's very painful, but I just don't want to be looking over my shoulder and stuff. So that's what I do.
Hey, now on January the 3rd is when proof of keys happens, but you're having, and I know a lot of people did this last year, changing their Twitter icons and stuff, adding adding basically a message, that proof of keys is coming up in the date. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so on proofofkeys.com, I have a couple pictures of that, like Caitlin Long and me and Nick Szabo, and yeah, I had screenshots of our Twitter handles. So what we've done is we put like January 3rd, and then we have like private keys and the proof emoji, and then like something else. Anyways, it basically is like proof of keys on the particular date using all those emojis. So it's kind of fun because, as all the Twitter handles change, it helps spread more awareness of our global coordinated bank run on the scarcest asset the planet's ever seen, right? With the highest stock to flow
soon to
ratio,
become even scarcer,
in 4 years,
or even harder to get.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's gold has a higher stock to flow ratio, but Bitcoin's going to have that easily in 5 years. So yeah, I mean, a global coordinated bank run on that asset, and there should always be enough of that asset. It's just a function of price. There should never be failure to delivers or anything if they're actually fully backed, right? Like if you bought a Bitcoin cash on the barrelhead and they allocated to Bitcoin in the cold storage, like,
well, that's not theirs to use.
Yeah, they shouldn't be using it for anything else, right? And it does make me kind of curious, like, whether any of these companies are fractional reserving or not, because we don't have any audited financial statements from them, and most aren't even regulated in a serious way. So, that is a curious thing. And like I put out a tweet, there were like 8 exchanges that have 1.9 million Bitcoins, which is a lot of Bitcoins between them all.
That's a lot of Bitcoins.
But, and Coinbase and Kraken and everything is on there. So Kraken's got 4 million customers, and Coinbase has maybe 10 million, maybe more. So like, let's say Coinbase, say they got 10 million customers and they've got 800,000 Bitcoins. Like, that's like 0.01 about, yeah, it's like 10% would be a million. So that's like less than a tenth of a Bitcoin per customer. I mean, that's only like $700.
So you think that's most of that stuff that's left on there, that people have just left on there and kind of moved over, and maybe well,
I guess what I'm saying is, like, if they've got 10 million customers, like if every customer had 1 Bitcoin, that would be 10 million Bitcoins. Right. So let's say that 25% of the customers are actually active and even have a balance. That's still 2.5 million. That means that you only have a third of a Bitcoin for each customer.
Yeah, well, that's not very high.
And that's only like $2,100. I mean, if you have like a Schwab account, you got a couple $100,000 in a Schwab account, people, right?
I see what you're getting at, that you did such a good job with proof of keys last year that everybody who has a lot of Bitcoin took it off of there. Is that...
Oh, maybe. I mean,
that's how I'm looking at it. You did such a good job. Everybody who had a Bitcoin or more got it off of there.
I mean, it's just, we got 10 million accounts at Coinbase and only maybe a third of a Bitcoin per account. I mean, that just, I would think more people had bought more Bitcoin.
Well, I wonder how many of those people don't. I wonder how many of those people don't have any Bitcoin on their account. They bought it during the bull run up to 17, 19,000, and it started dropping. They're going, I lost all my money, and they got out of it completely. Now it's a blank account. How many of those do you think there are? People who are not hodlers or investors.
Well, that's in the assumption, right? Like, let's assume Coinbase has 10 million accounts, and let's assume that 75% don't even have a Bitcoin.
Right.
Or don't have any Bitcoin at all.
Right.
So that's 2.5 million accounts. So 2.5 million accounts with 800,000 Bitcoin on the exchange.
Okay.
So that's only 0.3 Bitcoin per account.
And I'm following you. I wasn't following you exactly before.
Right. So that's only like $2,100. And then if you did like a standard distribution, you're going to have some accounts on there that have 100 or 500 Bitcoins, institutional accounts trading on Coinbase Pro or whatever, or, hold using Coinbase for their storage solution. So, you might have a couple hundred accounts that account for thousands of Bitcoins, or a couple 100,000 Bitcoins. And so then, like, it just seems like 2,100 is kind of a small average or median amount of Bitcoin that a customer would have.
Well, and actually, from what you just said, if you take out the financial institutions, it's less than that.
Yeah, I mean, let's say the financial institutions like the hedge funds or other like investments or even like the high net worth family offices, let's say that they've got, because remember, like Coinbase acquired Zappo, right? So, which was trying to vault for the high net worth individuals, and there's also Coinbase custody. So, I mean, let's say that half of the Bitcoins are held by those particular types of players. Well, now you've got 400,000 Bitcoins for 2.5 million customers. Like that's getting to be pretty thin on what a retail customer actually owns.
Right.
You know, and a lot of these retail customers, I mean, say they're making $100,000 a year, they could save. I mean, they could probably buy the $500 worth of Bitcoin or whatever with extra money from half of a paycheck. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're just talking about such a small amount of the disposable income.
Actually, a year's pocket change, maybe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the year, if they had one of those jugs and they just threw all their change in there, they might have $500 in there.
Yeah. And I mean, and when you're talking about, 10 million people with accounts, right? Like, and the dog loves to taste the rabbit. So as soon as that price starts moving, that's when everybody starts wanting to buy it anyways. You know, so, so, I mean, we either don't have as much Bitcoin on these exchanges and other third parties for each customer, or the retail customers have just pretty much completely left the market.
It's one or the other.
And are holding like a couple $100 a piece, which why are they listening to the podcast then? And why are they like tweeting and everything?
So there's a chance they're saying that with those kind of numbers that there's not enough Bitcoin on there for the amount of people that are having accounts there. When you pull out all the institutional investors, it's still not much money.
Yeah, I mean,
Bitcoin.
at least people holding it on the third parties. I mean, I was reading an article like something like 11.5 million Bitcoin haven't moved in the last 12 months.
I saw that.
So, I mean, maybe those are the hodlers, right? Maybe they've bought on Coinbase and withdrawn. Which, okay, I understand that, but I mean, I got some friends that, I mean, they're still keeping their Bitcoin on Coinbase. And
I'm the same way.
I've known these people since Bitcoin was like $200, and I've told them every sad story in the book. And we even have mutual friends who lost what would today be tens of millions of dollars on Mt. Gox, and they still haven't put in their homework to withdraw their Bitcoins off of Coinbase.
Yeah, I have a friend that was that, and I gave her a treasure. I mean, I had one I got from NVK for signing up for a Casa node. And I say, here, go get your Bitcoin off of there and put it on this treasure. You can have this. When I talked to her, have you done it yet? No, not yet. I said, but your dollar cost averaging, that's good, but you need to quit leaving it on Coinbase.
The number of friends I have that would otherwise be worth $10 million plus had they not lost their Bitcoins is really staggering. And so I do not understand why people can't learn from other people's experience.
Right. Instead of having to take a chance themselves.
Yeah. I mean, like, why are you keeping your coins on these exchanges? Like, why are you being either ignorant and not learning how to do it, or being just lazy and not doing it? Like, you're going to get wrecked one of these days. I mean, I think if Coinbase has sold a bunch of paper Bitcoin and they're trying to enforce a peg between paper Bitcoin and physical Bitcoin, or any of these other third-party exchanges, it could even be backed, for crying out loud, right? Because they're 37% backed by Bitcoin, right? Like, when you have that increased supply of the paper Bitcoin, it artificially suppresses the physical, as long as people are trying to enforce a one-to-one peg.
It's like a gold ETF.
Yeah, like the gold ETF, but it's a lot harder to run a gold full node and verify the gold, and it's a lot harder to transfer it around. you get to transfer it around and fully verify it for like 30 cents with the Bitcoin transaction. So like,
and if everybody does it at the same time on January the 3rd, then that's where the good comes out of it, because now you've made these guys prove they have it.
Yeah. I mean, like we know who's actually got the Bitcoin.
Right.
Like, because if you got a bunch of if you got a bunch of Bitcoin sitting on a third party, and there's this artificially suppressed price of Bitcoin because of an increased supply of paper Bitcoin, and there's this peg happening, you want to own the physical, and you want someone else to be stuck with the paper. Everything else being equal, right? Like, do you want Mt. Gox Bitcoin, or do you want Bitcoin in your own wallet? Do you want Quadriga CX Bitcoin, or do you want Bitcoin in your own wallet? Do you want Cryptopia Bitcoin or Bitcoin in your own wallet? And going forward into the future, do you want Coinbase or Backed or Kraken Bitcoin, or do you want Bitcoin in your wallet?
So who's next is the question. Who's going to be the next?
Well, we don't have audited financial statements from any of these players. So, I mean, we don't know whether we don't know what their financial statements look like. None of them have done proof of reserves. Kraken did it like 5 years ago, but they haven't done another one. So, I mean,
how did you come up with proof of keys? What made you think of doing this?
Like what could really be a lot of fun? Oh, this would be a good idea. Actually, Murray Rothbard did talk about having kind of regular coordinated bank runs, and that would help keep banks more sound, like an anti-banking league,
right?
I think is what he called it. And then you would have regularly scheduled bank runs to try and keep the banks a little bit sounder and more solvent.
That sounds interesting. What can the average person do to help with this, and besides take their Bitcoin off exchanges? Is there anything?
One is just participate in it, and two is just kind of spread the word. Like proofofkeys.com has a bunch of resources for new people, so it makes for great discussion. If you're going to talk about Bitcoin at Thanksgiving or at Christmas, like, bring up proof of keys and be like, are you trusting these third parties, or have you actually got possession of your Bitcoins? Oh no, I lost all mine in a boating accident. That's the response you want to hear, right?
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything?
You don't want your family members or your friends to end up being a Mt. Gox creditor.
No,
that's
those guys still haven't got their money.
Yeah, it may, I feel sad for them, but like, too bad, so sad. I feel sad to the amount of $0. I'm not going to give them anything.
As my brother-in-law always says, better them than me.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is, like, if somebody's got to get stuck with paper Bitcoin, like, might as well be someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, everything else being equal, like, if you're going to put in the homework, if you're going to do the homework and do the research and actually take the action, like, you should get the reward, So there were a lot of people who were further in, who were closer to the front of the line in Mt. Gox, and their withdrawals got processed. It was the people at the back of the line that didn't get their withdrawals processed. So part of the lesson is do it first, do it right and do it first.
Yeah.
And do it on a regular basis, do it throughout the year, but proof of keys is just a way that we can initiate new people who have come into the ecosystem and help them get some of the ethos and some of the cypherpunk ideology. Don't trust, verify, prove the keys. They say they have Bitcoin for you, tell them to send it to you. Prove it.
They shouldn't have that Bitcoin on there anyway. They should have taken that off already. But if they got it on there, let's get it off of there.
Hey, we all start somewhere. Think about if you're a new person coming into this space. Yeah. You might have bought Bitcoin Cash thinking it was Bitcoin. Like, right. Okay, there's one stripe, Well, we all got our battle scars.
No. I agree completely with that.
If anything, it's because we like dodged the Mt. Gox bullet or dodged the other, like, right? Or maybe we got tagged by one of them.
Well, I found out the hard way that whenever I exchanged Bitcoin for another coin that went up, maybe I was right. But when I went back to Bitcoin, I had less Bitcoin than I started with because Bitcoin had gone up too. So I thought I was so happy. I was going, oh, look how I did. And then I would have said, wait a second, I got less Bitcoin than I had when I started.
Yeah, I mean, we all learn. We all learn, or maybe it went the opposite way, right? Like I claimed my stellar airdrop, and usually you look at all these forks and all these airdrops, and what happens? Whoever sells them first gets the most in terms of like Bitcoins. And so of course, what did I do? First it was like the first batch of airdrops and forks. So I mean, we didn't know this, and I was just kind of like, they're gonna give me free money? Like, I'm gonna turn it into Bitcoin. I like this. So I sold I sold Bcash, and I sold Stellar, and I sold all these things. And then a couple of months later, Stellar goes up 25x. Whoops.
Who would know?
Way outperformed Bitcoin.
You still got free money, though. You still got free money, so you couldn't be too unhappy that you got free money.
No. I mean, I was totally happy with the trade, but it's raising the point that, like, hey, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you read it wrong, Right. And so operate from a position of just highly defensive nature, which is what I was doing. Claim the airdrops, turn them into Bitcoin, get the coin in my possession, not having it on some third-party exchange. My friend Michael Turpin, guess what he did with a lot of these altcoins and forks? He left them on the exchange. And then guess what happened?
He lost
got
them.
SimSwap. He got SimSwap hacked. And so now he's suing AT&T for like $25 million.
Oh, I've seen that case. I've seen that. That's a lawsuit going on there.
Yeah, because he wasn't playing so defensively. If you're going to get all these airdrops and forks, like, start at the ones that are worth the most value, go to the most reputable exchange, sell those forks into Bitcoin, withdraw the Bitcoin, and then move down the value level of the forks, right? Or hold the forks if you think that the project has some merit to it.
Right.
Because I mean, this is a space of science and innovation. So, and like with Litecoin, we activated SegWit there first. So, we should expect and we should hope that there is more innovation going on, and hopefully that innovation will be successful. And if it's successful, then that little token might make you a good ROI in Bitcoin. We got to stay open-minded. We can't be so dogmatic. We got to be flexible and pliable, but still operating from a defensive positioning. Because I'll tell you what, like the next big debate that's coming down the pipeline, it's going to be all about privacy and anonymity and fungibility. And there is not really one right option, because we have to make this fundamental trade-off between the soundness of the money, the limited and amountness of it, and the privacy, the anonymity, the fungibility. So like there's a fundamental tension between the two, and there are going to be a lot of different options. Maybe it's CoinJoin and Lightning Network, or maybe it's atomic swaps, or maybe it's ring signatures like Monero, or maybe it's Mimblewimble, or maybe it's who knows what, right? Like something that doesn't even get invented yet. Because like the Mimblewimble white paper, it came out in 2016. Bitcoin had been around for 7 years before that paper came out. And Mimblewimble also helps solve scalability issues. Andrew Palestra, he was talking about how the Mimblewimble blockchain could actually shrink in size. That's not going to happen to the Bitcoin blockchain. So we have to keep an open mind and not be too dogmatic on these things. But at least the way I look at it practically is operate from a position of defensiveness. Never put your Bitcoin stack at risk, and try to increase your Bitcoin stack with the forks and the airdrops. And sometimes, that might mean you hold the Stellar for it to go up 25x.
Right.
If you have that advanced knowledge, right? I mean, I didn't have any special knowledge about Stellar, so I just sold mine. I didn't really have time to do any research and due diligence on Stellar. Like, why would I want to distract myself with it?
I need to go claim some Stellar, I think, somewhere. I think I have Stellar somewhere that I haven't claimed yet. So,
well, you had to like register for it. So it's not like it's it's an unclaimed UTXO on a blockchain, right? Like you had to register for it and then it got airdropped to you. So if you didn't, then you don't necessarily get it.
I think I had some other places I got it, maybe Keybase or things like that did airdrops. I don't know what I got. I hadn't messed with it, but
yeah, I think I set up my Keybase because, hey, I like picking up free money.
Yeah,
why not pick up free money?
Yeah, nothing wrong with free money. I mean, I pick up pennies off the street. When I walk by, I've been over and pick up a penny. I mean,
I'm frugal on it, and and if you're playing around with the innovative technology, that's another aspect of these different forks and airdrops and other coins is developing different crypto skills. And because like Mimblewimble, you have to be listening. Well, what's that mean? Right. And so, picking up and learning these different skills and abilities, like that's all a form of human capital. And you never know when it's going to come in handy. I'll tell you what, like I was reading all the Austrian economics stuff and Dr. Vieira's book. And I mean, I've been doing a ton of research and stuff on everything before Bitcoin even existed. And yet that stuff proved to have such a huge ROI because I was able to recognize Bitcoin and take advantage of it and have conviction with it. Like I didn't get lucky. I had made the investment in stuff, right?
Right.
And so like education is the key to opportunity. And that's the best investment is when you invest in yourself. And I think gaining these new skills and abilities and understanding how stuff is working, I think that's a great investment to be making. Just don't get chasing the wrong rabbit for too long. But yeah, so I think all of that's very important, and especially with the privacy debate coming down the pipeline and nobody knowing exactly how it is all going to turn out and what the best way is going to be. Guess what? That means there's a lot of asymmetric knowledge, a bunch of different ways that people are going to be performing economic calculation. That translates into volatility, opportunity to make good trades and make good money. So, it's going to be fun this space is not going to lack for entertainment value.
Right. For sure. Is there anything else getting that time for the show to get out of here? Is there anything you want to make sure that I might not have asked you that you want to cover before we get out of here?
No, it's just, it's been great. Like keep up the good work. Proofofkeys.com. I host the Bitcoin Knowledge Podcast, bitcoin.kn.
Great podcast.
Thanks. Yeah. On Twitter at Trace Mayer, at Trace Mayer. And let's just keep having fun, and don't trust, verify. Like the technical fortress is there with Bitcoin Core and the network to protect our monetary sovereignty. But it's going to take our political will to keep it there. So, start exercising those monetary sovereignty muscles, participate in proof of keys and help other people do it too. It makes our whole entire industry stronger and more decentralized. And that's what we want. More decentralization, more censorship resistance, stronger monetary sovereignty. And you want to know that you've got the Bitcoins. Trust me, you don't want paper Bitcoins. You don't want those.
For sure.
So thanks so much for everything that you're doing.
Oh, thanks you for everything you're doing. And everybody, listen, go get ready for January the 3rd. Let's do this. Let's make this work again. Let's save other people in case there is some bad actors. Let's save other people in the future from getting taken by these bad actors. Trace, thanks for coming on the show so much. I always enjoy talking to you. I just enjoy talking to you. I mean, so I think this is such an easy interview because you're one of my favorite people to interview because I enjoy talking with you. Thanks a lot, Trace.
Well, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
This has been a CryptoPodcaster.com production.